Today I wanted to show you guys a really weird and creepy award show that aired back in 2010 with a sinister backstory. Do any of you recall the Capper Awards? First off, what are the Capper Awards and why have I never heard of it before? After hearing about how everyone finds this award show to be downright disturbing and really creepy, it made me want to do some digging, and what I did find was disturbing and yes, creepy. I first went to Reddit and looked up the Capper Awards, and it wasn't long enough until I found some information on this award show. Now this is going to sound strange, but apparently this show was created by a community of pedophiles that would blackmail underage females and males, typically cam girls. According to this Reddit post, a capper is a person who spends every hour of every day recording random webcam girls, and men as well, while making friends with like-minded lonely pervs. Now this is really sounding disturbing, but anyways, I kept looking at these Reddit comments, and it seems and using the inappropriate pictures as blackmail to harass them. This is all just beyond messed up. What really ended up bringing light to this disturbing award show was back in September 2012. This is where a girl uploaded a documentary of herself going through cyberbullying and blackmail. During the whole documentary, no one seems to speak. Instead, it seems the girl wants to tell her story in writing. On paper cards, we see a card with writing on it, one by one, telling her story of the emotional abuse she was going through. Sadly, about a month later of posting this video, she would take her own life, which was probably because of the abuse and bullying she had endured. This girl's name was Amanda Todd. This sad story would cause a big stir on the internet that would eventually cause global attention, bringing a lot of news sources and other shows around the world to speak on this tragic story of Amanda Todd. This amount of attention brought light to a very dark community that was never meant to be seen. But because of the tragic story of Amanda Todd getting so much attention around the world, it was almost inevitable to prevent themselves from finally being exposed. This community I'm talking about consisted of like-minded perverted individuals that would stalk the internet together looking for either webcam girls or naive young females, and even males who they would manipulate into sending them inappropriate pictures of themselves, or even convince them to do something inappropriate on their live stream. And these alleged cappers would then screenshot them and use these pictures and videos as blackmail. Today we're going to take a further look into this weird and disturbing award show that was created by pedophiles. To begin, I wanted to dive back into the earlier stages of the internet, where the internet wasn't regulated like the way it is today. I am not saying the internet is completely safe today, but it's a whole lot safer than it was at the beginning stages. A great example of that are these chat rooms, especially the live chat rooms where you could have a live video stream of yourself while communicating with another person who is also video streaming. Almost like today's Omegle, and kind of like Twitch as well, but back in the early stages of the internet, these chat rooms were not monitored or had any type of safety guidelines. These chat rooms were almost like a free-for-all. Anyone could talk to each other, say what they want, basically do whatever they want without any type of repercussions, because these chat rooms and video streaming websites were still very new. These websites would essentially be created by random people who would host the site, and people would use these sites to communicate to random people all around the internet and also watch random people streaming. It does sound pretty awesome and almost futuristic at the time, but unfortunately these chat rooms and stream chat rooms would begin to be used for much more darker and disturbing activities, like the harassment of underage individuals or underage individuals being manipulated by bad people into doing or committing terrible things on the internet, like exposing parts of their body and releasing private information about themselves or of family members that could ultimately end up getting themselves harmed physically, financially, and even mentally by these people. This unfortunately was beginning to become a common theme in these chat rooms where young individuals would get manipulated by these predators. These predators would stalk chat rooms looking for new people, preferably underage people, to come across their path in these chat rooms, and underage live streamers, as they would be the easiest to manipulate. These predators would get these younger individuals to expose themselves by manipulating them into thinking they're a friend or just making them feel like someone they could talk to. But slowly over time, these predators would take advantage of these younger individuals and get them to reveal private information, or even getting them to expose themselves physically in pictures, whether it be inappropriate or not. These predators would then use these pictures in private information to blackmail them into almost doing whatever they want in fear of their information or pictures and videos being shared all around the internet. Sadly, exactly what I described is what happened to Amanda Todd. Amanda Todd would sadly fall victim to one of these predators on the site called Blog TV, where at just the age of 13 Amanda would log into this website, where she would start streaming on the website, gaining around 200 viewers during her streams. Sadly, during one of these streams is where she would make the biggest mistake of her life. She would ultimately be pressured by her viewers into flashing herself to the audience. This is where one of the viewers, who went by the username Tyler Boo, was waiting for this moment and took a screenshot of Amanda Todd flashing the audience. This man who went by Tyler Boo would use this screenshot of her to blackmail her into her doing private shows for him, which she would always refuse. Because of her not willing to comply, Tyler Boo would end up turning Amanda's world completely upside down. He would go on to send the picture and video of Amanda flashing her audience to all her family members and friends, or just anyone who was associated with her. It even got so bad there were a couple incidents where the family was forced to move. Sadly, this would never help, because Tyler would continue the harassment no matter where she went. Every new school she would go to, she would eventually be met with the pictures and videos from her fellow classmates that Tyler Boo sent to them. This pushed Amanda into taking up new habits like drinking and doing drugs just to help deal with her traumatic abuse. On October 10th, 2012, sadly Amanda would not be able to handle the harassment anymore and took her own life. After Amanda took her life, her documentary on YouTube about her cyber abuse would go viral, gaining a bunch of attention on Amanda Todd and what she went through. This story would be told on multiple news sources and TV shows across the world to explain the tragic story of Amanda Todd, and this left many people wondering who Tyler Boo was. To uncover this mystery, we got to first understand he was not acting alone and was actually part of one of the most disturbing and disgusting communities to exist on the internet. Amanda's story would first be aired on a Canadian news show, which immediately after her story aired, it caused a full-on investigation to commence, with a whole team being dedicated to finding out who Tyler Boo even was. At the beginning of the investigation, they would come to find out that Tyler was what they called a capper, someone who stalks out people with webcams, harassing them until they would do something they probably shouldn't do on their webcam, which these cappers would then screenshot them or record them, which they referred to as caps. For most cappers, they will then use the caps they gained from the victim into further blackmailing them into doing whatever they want. Caps are pretty much anything a capper would acquire from one of their victims to further blackmail them or to show it off in their capper community, which is pretty much exactly what Tyler Boo did to Amanda. Sadly, this was a very common thing going on around during this time, with hundreds and probably even thousands of cappers stalking streamers in chat rooms every day and night, destroying hundreds of young people's lives by using their caps to blackmail them and extort them even further on a daily basis. Most of these cappers would not work alone. Most of them have actually been pretty connected to one another by being part of a community that also committed the same practices they did. This community would share tips and other people's caps, showing all the private stuff they have acquired from people they have blackmailed, even gloating, and showing off their caps in this community. We would have no correlation of this community existing if it wasn't for this show on YouTube called The Daily Capper. The show would first air on YouTube back on June 20th, 2010, uploading a new episode weekly for over a year. These episodes would roughly be around 5 minutes long and would be hosted by a familiar face. This weird-looking woman could also be found on the TV show called Crashbox, where they would feature a show called Distraction News. But The Daily Capper was nothing like this show. The Daily Capper actually stole the footage from Crashbox and used it for their show, The Daily Capper, using the same imagery and footage from the segment Distraction News, and also dubbed over the host with some robotic eerie voice instead.
6 months after, which would mean if Viper really was the culprit.
The Daily Capper would go on to be pretty much an archive of footage of random streamers from male to female. What makes it all even more disturbing is they were all underage victims being blackmailed and extorted on camera. This was all pretty much documented crimes these cappers were committing, sharing their committed crimes on the internet, showing the victims and even the cappers themselves on this show.
Meets Chris Effect and Swan meets Kristen.
The first time in history that a sitcom camper met face-to-face with a capper, Hero of the Year. Who has done the best job this year from stopping girls from stripping and cock-blocking cappers? The nominees are Thomas X90. If there was any other annoying fags and slice, this guy sure would take the cake.
The very first episode of The Daily Capper even begins with the host talking about this user, Nicole 34, being in a chat room where she exposed herself and then was blackmailed by this user, Duff Holiday.
Nicole 34 went to TinyChat and exposed her 15-year-old faggot boobs. She was later heroed and blackmailed by Duff Holiday. Shortly after that, she was banned from TinyChat.
Clearly documenting a crime on the show, there would also go on to be more stories of cappers blackmailing other younger individuals, from 13-year-old to even as young as 8 years old. They would basically brag about the crimes they were committing, while blatantly showing the crimes they were committing on the internet, and pretty much showing anyone what they were doing. So this had investigators intrigued by this weird show on YouTube that was showing underage children being extorted on the internet. Mind you, this all was happening around the time Amanda was being harassed. So this brought some attention the creators of the show weren't expecting, like these investigators, for example. They never thought this show would ever reach as many eyes as it did, and this is because of one woman, Amanda Todd. Once her story blew up all over the internet, it wasn't long until people found out about this show, The Daily Capper. This show was made for a certain audience, probably just for people within the community, because what unfolded in this clip on The Daily Capper on July 4th is just disturbing.
News. Perso gave out Cher's IP address. So his stupid accent comes from Brazil apparently. Meanwhile, Perso is continuing with the blackmail on Blog TV. By the way, we recently found out from sources that he used a website like Chat's People to bring girls to himself along with Razor, and this guy blackmailed a girl to drink her own pee on this site. Perso was streaming a video of a girl drinking her own pee a while back.
We clearly see the two cappers being outed by the host and stating they blackmailed a 12-year-old girl into drinking her own pee. That alone told me they were not expecting many people to watch this show on YouTube, but it was more of a way to show off their caps or blackmail to their community, showing praise to them through this award show. If you were to continue to watch this award show, you would then see even more caps, always being someone underage, as it seems this was the show's focal point, to show off what they could acquire from underage individuals via blackmailing them and extorting them. The Daily Capper was one of the worst things, in my opinion, to exist on the internet, as they were a disgusting community of individuals who essentially got off on extorting young children on the internet. This segment I'm about to show you pretty much puts it all into perspective of what and who they were.
I wonder exactly what capping is really like. While it's hard to explain every aspect in such a short period of time, some people have gone as far as to describe it as an underground version of Girls Gone Wild. In some ways that can be considered true. Let's compare, shall we? Of course, there are a lot of differences between capping and Girls Gone Wild. For one, there are no blackmailers on Girls Gone Wild. But then again, those girls know they're going to have their videos shared all over the world. While girls on the internet will cry when they get recorded, as the Loot Palace project has proven for over a year. In fact, just a couple of nights ago there was a group of girls flashing on Blog TV. They got banned and moved to Ustream, where they quickly were starting to get comfortable.
Well, there you go. They clearly stated who and what they were, which is downright disturbing, as they admit the videos and pictures they acquire were taken without permission, and the goal was to leave the individual emotionally disturbed. Thankfully, the show never actually showed any explicit content, but this didn't stop the host from revealing how to see and acquire the blackmailed content that they were talking about on the show, like in this segment here.
It's now on both our new YouTube account and on modelos.com. For future updates, visit thedailykapper.tk. If you are watching on Modelos, there will be a few reports that we won't be showing on YouTube. So now on to the show.
This show was only the beginning of what more people would soon discover about the Daily Capper. The further you go, you will find this isn't the first time they hosted an award show for Daily Cappers, as back in 2009, they had another award show. Only it didn't have that creepy lady hosting it, and was not much of a show but just more of a way to award the best cappers in their community for the year, even having multiple awards like Blackmailer of the Year, Hero of the Year, Cam Whore of the Year, and even Cam Site of the Year, and shouting out the best cam site for daily cappers. This award show was created by a whole different YouTube channel, but probably was still very much the same community making this award show. And from what it seems from the voting in the comments section, there was a lot of members in this community, and majority probably stuck around into 2010, where we would get a new revamped version of the award show that we first talked about in this video. They would go on to keep most of the categories they had from their previous show back in 2009, but the most sought out award seemed to be Blackmailer of the Year, where in 2010, the user Cody 1206 would win the award for blackmailing this underage girl named Peyton, where he would blackmail her every day until he was tired of her.
Cody 1206, famous for his blackmail with Peyton, streaming her videos on Blog TV and Tiny Chat, and threatening her in public.
This almost sounds eerily similar to the story of Amanda Todd and how she was being harassed and blackmailed daily as well by Tyler Boo. Weirdly enough, another segment came out talking about how a young girl was being harassed so bad by this community that she ran away from home and took her own life. Could they possibly be talking about Amanda Todd? Well, this segment alone gave investigators a lot of thought into the Daily Capper being involved in her committing suicide. But this wasn't the only thing that made the Daily Capper the main point of interest. They would actually go on to do an entire segment about Amanda Todd, explaining where she was previously streaming and to where she was moving her stream next. She seemed to be a clear target for cappers, and it's pretty much proven in this segment alone.
Welcome to another edition of the Daily Capper. We just wanted to help provide a few more details to the recent Amanda Todd tragedy. The majority of people seem misinformed. While people have made Amanda Todd's case into an example of bullying, what they tend to overlook is the capping and blackmail aspect of the story. As most of you know, we did a report on Amanda Todd during the time this tragic series of events began occurring. We are able to confirm the timeline in which this all began, as well as a background and information on those involved. There is one thing we can confirm about Amanda. On January 4, 2011, she commented on our video report, in which she was featured, detailing how she was being blackmailed. She states that she did in fact contact the police about her situation.
So investigators now had some actual proof of the Daily Capper having some ties into her death, especially airing the segment around the time Amanda Todd was being blackmailed and harassed. So it was almost certain now that someone in this community was the person who blackmailed and harassed Amanda Todd into her committing suicide. We know that the user Tyler Boo was the one responsible for harassing and blackmailing Amanda Todd. But who is Tyler Boo? That's the same question all the investigators were asking now. They were almost certain by now that Tyler Boo was probably one of the members of this community. You may have thought it would be the law enforcement investigators who would find the identity of Tyler Boo, but you would actually be wrong. There would actually be a community on the internet that goes by anonymous. This would be the internet community to take it upon themselves to dox Tyler Boo. Remember Cody 1206, the capper who won Blackmailer of the Year for harassing the young girl Peyton? Well, it seems Tyler Boo and Cody 1206 were the same person, since the two blackmails seemed similar to the one done by Cody 1206 and Tyler Boo. This made Anonymous look deeper into Cody 1206. Ultimately, seeing these two accounts were connected and were the same person, they found out this individual had been already charged for a simple assault on a minor. This would help them be able to identify a man by the name of Cody, who they would go on to release all his private information, completely doxing him to everyone on the internet. Finally, the mystery is solved. We figured out who was mainly responsible for the death of Amanda Todd. Or did we? It actually turns out Anonymous was actually completely wrong. Turns out the two accounts were actually not linked together, and Tyler Boo and Cody 1206 were two completely different people. Luckily, it wasn't too much later the true identity of Tyler Boo would be discovered. The police would arrest 44-year-old Aiden Coben, who would be linked to the account Tyler Boo. This man, Aiden Coben, was a notorious online predator, known for having over hundreds of accounts on the internet. He would use these accounts to commit predatorial acts. Sadly, Amanda Todd wouldn't be his only victim. Over time, as the Amanda Todd story got bigger, it would be the one story who finally got this sick individual caught up with the law. Aiden Coben would be sentenced to 13 years in prison for his crimes, giving some justice to Amanda Todd's family. Sadly, though, they will never get to see their daughter again because of this sick individual. Now that Amanda Todd's case has been resolved, let's find out what ended up happening to the Daily Capper. The Daily Capper would actually go on to cancel their show just a year prior of Amanda Todd's passing. Most people speculated the show was canceled due to YouTube's policies. As episodes would be removed from YouTube, this would cause them to move the show to a whole new website called Daily Motion, where you can still watch episodes of the Daily Capper to this very day. Though they tried to remain active, it seems the community and show would ultimately die down after 2010, as they wouldn't create any new episodes, and even having very low to no activity on their website called thedailykapper.com, where they would recap what happened in previous episodes. And even having articles for users to download. With no activity pretty much going on within the community after Amanda Todd's death, it seems we finally have seen the end to this horrific award show, right? Well, almost. The Daily Capper would go on to air one more episode before disappearing for good. This episode would embark on the tragic events of Amanda Todd and having the goal of shifting all the blame for her death on Cody 1206. What they didn't realize when they made this episode was they were essentially outing themselves for having clear contact with Amanda, as Amanda did with them. Which just makes this situation even more disturbing, as Amanda would comment under one of the videos stating, "It's Amanda here. I am getting blackmailed." And the cops are out looking for the guy that posted a video of me flashing to all my family members and friends. Because I didn't do stuff with him on cams. Put that in your news, winky face. People are also getting charged. But the site is shut down. The host would try to flip it around onto the cops as the bad guys in this situation, as they didn't do anything to help Amanda, but what they ended up doing was proving the Capper community knew all about Amanda's story and what abuse she was enduring. Ultimately proving they knew about this situation before her passing and did nothing to help her. This would be the end of the Daily Capper, and unfortunately we never found out who the creator of this show was. As the Daily Capper and the community would fade away into the darkness, just like the creator of this disturbing show.